Look, we have all been there. You get your paycheck, you feel rich for about 2 seconds, and then the reality of life hits you like a freight train. Rent, groceries, that random subscription you forgot to cancel, and boom, suddenly you are staring at your bank account, wondering where all your hard-earned money went. For the longest time, I was stuck in that exact same paycheck to paycheck cycle. I was working hard, putting in the hours, but I had absolutely nothing to show for it at the end of the month. I thought the secret to building wealth was just making more money, but the truth is, it does not matter how much you make if you do not know how to keep it. Today, I am going to share with you the 7 money habits that completely transformed my financial life. These are beginner-friendly, no nonsense, and you do not need to be making 6 figures to start using them right now. The first habit that completely shifted the way I handle money is the concept of paying yourself first. It sounds incredibly cliche, I know, but hear me out because most people do this completely backwards. The average person gets paid, they pay their landlord, they pay the credit card companies, they pay the grocery store, and then if there is a tiny little crumb of money left over at the end of the month, they might throw it into a savings account. That is a guaranteed recipe for staying broke because there is always going to be something competing for your money. When you pay yourself first, you flip the script. The moment your paycheck hits your account, before you pay a single bill or buy a single cup of coffee, a specific percentage immediately goes into your savings or investments. You treat your savings contribution like it is your most important monthly bill, non-negotiable, and due immediately. Start small if you have to. Even if it is just $20 or $50 a paycheck, the dollar amount matters way less than building the actual habit. You are training your brain to prioritize your financial future over instant gratification. Once that money is moved out of your checking account, you do not even see it, which means you cannot spend it. You force yourself to live on whatever is left over. This single shift in mindset took me from having $0 in savings to finally building a financial cushion, and it gave me the peace of mind knowing that I was consistently building wealth in the background without having to actively think about it every single day. If you want to stop feeling like you are constantly running on a financial hamster wheel, you absolutely have to make yourself your very first creditor. It is the foundational step that makes every other financial strategy actually work. You have to be disciplined. You have to be focused. You have to realize that no one else is going to save you. Your future self is depending on the decisions you make today. It is about freedom, security, and taking back the power from the systems that want you to stay broke forever. When you automate this process, you stop being a victim of your own impulses and start being the architect of your own destiny. Every dollar you save is a little soldier working for you while you sleep, building a wall of protection around your future life and dreams. The second habit that radically changed my trajectory was tracking absolutely every single penny that left my account. Before I started doing this, budgeting felt like this restrictive, terrible punishment. I thought budgets were just for people who were deeply in debt and trying to crawl their way out. I would check my bank balance, see I had a few $100, and assume I was good to go out for dinner or buy some new shoes. But checking your balance is not the same as having a financial plan. I realized I was suffering from what they call lifestyle creep and financial leaks. $20 here, $15 there, a spontaneous Amazon purchase late at night, it all added up to hundreds of dollars vanishing into thin air every month. So, I started using a zero-based budget. This means every single dollar gets an assigned job before the month even begins. Whether that job is paying rent, buying groceries, going into the emergency fund, or even being used for guilt-free fun money, every dollar has a specific purpose. When I actually sat down and looked at the cold, hard numbers of my spending habits, I was completely shocked. I was spending an embarrassing amount of money on takeout food and subscription services I did not even use anymore. Tracking your spending forces you to confront reality. It removes all the emotion and the guesswork from your finances. You can use an app, a complicated spreadsheet, or even just a simple piece of paper and a pen. The method really does not matter as long as you are consistent with it. Once I started tracking my expenses, it felt like I had instantly given myself a massive raise because I was finally plugging up all those holes where my money was slowly leaking out. It gave me permission to spend money on the things I genuinely cared about while ruthlessly cutting costs on the things that did not actually bring me any value. You have to treat your personal finances like a business. No successful CEO runs a company without knowing exactly what the cash flow looks like, and you are the CEO of your own life. You need to know your numbers. If you do not tell your money where to go, you will always be left wondering where it went. Start tracking everything for just 30 days, and I guarantee it will completely open your eyes to exactly where you are holding yourself back financially. It is incredibly empowering to look at your budget and know exactly what is happening. It takes the stress away because there are no more surprises at the end of the month. You are in total control of the narrative instead of just letting your bank account dictate what you can and cannot do with your hard-earned income. This level of awareness is the absolute difference between people who stay stuck in the middle class and those who eventually become wealthy. You cannot manage what you do not measure, and you cannot improve what you do not track. When you see exactly where your money is going, you gain the power to change its direction forever. Now, moving right into the third habit, which is implementing the 24-hour rule for all non-essential purchases. We currently live in a world that is meticulously designed by brilliant marketers to separate you from your money as quickly as humanly possible. Between targeted social media ads, one-click checkout buttons, and next-day delivery, impulse buying has never been easier in the history of the world. I used to be terrible at this. I would see something cool online, convince myself I absolutely needed it in that exact moment, and hit purchase without a second thought. Most of the time, the dopamine rush of buying the item was way better than actually owning it, and it would just sit in a closet gathering dust. The 24-hour rule is the ultimate circuit breaker for impulse spending. Here is exactly how it works. Whenever you feel the sudden urge to buy something that is not a basic necessity like groceries or gas, you force yourself to wait a full 24 hours before making the transaction. You can add the item to your online shopping cart. You can even go all the way to the checkout page, but you cannot click buy until a full day has passed. What happens during those 24 hours is actually psychological magic. The initial emotional spike and the intense craving to acquire the item completely fades away. You give your logical brain a chance to catch up and evaluate the purchase objectively. I would ask myself, do I actually need this, or am I just bored? Will this add genuine value to my life, or is it just a fleeting distraction? 9 times out of 10, by the time the next day rolled around, I had completely lost interest in whatever it was I wanted to buy. I ended up closing the tab and keeping my money. If you try this, you will be amazed at how much cash you save just by creating a tiny bit of friction between wanting something and actually buying it. For bigger purchases like a new television or an expensive piece of tech, I extend this to the 30-day rule. If I still genuinely want it after an entire month of waiting, and I have the cash sitting there ready to go, then I will buy it guilt-free. But usually the urge just disappears entirely over that time frame. Along with this, the fourth habit that changed the game was building a starter emergency fund. You cannot invest or build massive wealth if you are constantly relying on high-interest credit cards every single time your car breaks down or you have an unexpected medical bill. Having a cash cushion completely breaks the toxic cycle of consumer debt. It is the ultimate financial shock absorber for your entire life and gives you massive peace of mind when things inevitably go wrong. Most people are just one flat tire or one hospital visit away from total financial ruin, but with an emergency fund, a crisis becomes just a minor inconvenience. It is about buying your way out of stress and knowing that no matter what happens in the world, you and your family are going to be absolutely okay because you had the foresight to prepare. This fund is your safety net. The fifth habit is one of the most powerful things you can do for your financial psychology, and that is automating absolutely everything. Humans are naturally lazy, and we suffer from massive decision fatigue. If you have to consciously remember to transfer money into your savings account every month, or if you have to manually log in and pay every single one of your bills, eventually you are going to slip up. You will forget, or you will find a reason to spend that money instead. I used to rely on my own willpower to save, and willpower is a terrible financial strategy because it eventually runs out. So I took myself entirely out of the equation. I set up automatic transfers with my bank so that the day after my paycheck hits, a specific amount is instantly routed to my high-yield savings account, and another amount is automatically deposited directly into my investment portfolio. All of my fixed utility bills and credit card payments are set to auto-pay the full statement balance every single month. By doing this, I completely eliminated late fees, I guaranteed that my investments were being funded consistently, and I freed up so much mental energy. You should spend a couple of hours this weekend setting up this exact automated system, and then let the computer robots do all the heavy lifting for you. Building long-term wealth should essentially be boring and completely automatic. Moving on to the sixth habit, which completely shifted my perspective, I stopped focusing exclusively on clipping coupons and started focusing heavily on increasing my earning potential. When you are just starting out, cutting expenses is incredibly important. You need to trim the fat and get your budget very lean. However, there is a fundamental mathematical limit to how much money you can save. You can only cut your living expenses down to zero, but there is absolutely no limit to how much money you can theoretically earn in your lifetime. For years, I wasted hours trying to save 50 cents on a basic grocery item, when I should have been spending that precious time learning a high-income skill. I started aggressively investing in myself. I read business books, took online professional courses, and focused entirely on becoming far more valuable in the economic marketplace. Whether it is confidently asking for a raise at your current job, switching corporate careers entirely, or starting a profitable side hustle during your evenings and weekends, increasing your top-line revenue is the single fastest way to drastically accelerate your overall wealth-building journey and reach total financial freedom much earlier in your life. You have to understand that your income is your greatest wealth-building tool. The more value you can provide to the world, the more the world will pay you. Don't just settle for a 3% annual raise. Become so good at what you do that companies are fighting to hire you. Invest in your brain, because that is the only asset that no one can ever take away from you. When you combine high income with a disciplined spending plan, you become an unstoppable financial force. The seventh and final habit is making investing a consistent, lifelong practice rather than constantly looking for a quick lottery ticket. When I first started looking into the stock market, I was completely overwhelmed. I thought I needed to be a brilliant Wall Street financial genius reading complex charts all day just to make a basic return. I tried picking individual trendy stocks, chasing the latest internet hype, and trying to perfectly time the market, which usually ended with me losing a lot of money and feeling incredibly stressed out. The real turning point in my financial journey was when I finally discovered broad market index funds and exchange-traded funds. I realized that the path to generating real generational wealth wasn't about finding the next massive breakout company before anyone else did. It was about consistently buying tiny pieces of the entire global economy and stubbornly holding on to them for multiple decades. An index fund like the S&P 500 gives you instant automatic diversification across the 500 largest, most profitable companies operating in the United States. You do not have to obsessively worry about which specific corporate CEO is making mistakes or which specific industry sector is having a bad quarter, because you effectively own a little bit of absolutely everything. I made it an unbreakable habit to automatically invest a portion of my income into these low-cost index funds every single month, regardless of what the mainstream news headlines were screaming about that particular week. If the stock market was sitting at a massive all-time high, I bought more shares. If the market was rapidly crashing and everyone around me was utterly panicking, I bought even more because those valuable shares were effectively on sale at a massive discount. This powerful strategy is called dollar cost averaging, and it completely removes the dangerous emotional roller coaster of stock market investing. Compound interest is frequently called the eighth wonder of the world, but it absolutely requires extreme patience and significant time to actually work its mathematical magic. You are simply planting financial seeds today so you can sit in the comfortable shade 20 years from now. If you just adopt these core 7 money habits, paying yourself first, tracking your spending, enforcing the 24-hour rule, building that essential emergency fund, automating your entire financial system, focusing heavily on increasing your income, and consistently investing in broad market index funds, your entire financial life will become completely unrecognizable just a few short years down the line. It is not about making massive sacrifices all at once. It is about consistent discipline and building systems that ensure you win. It's about deciding right now that you deserve a better life and then doing the work to make it happen. You have the tools, you have the knowledge, and now you have the plan. The only thing left to do is take that very first step. Stop making excuses, stop waiting for the perfect time, and start building your wealth today. Your future self will thank you for it.